Agent Power Huddle is a daily jumpstart, giving you all the tools you need to create an amazing real estate career. Led by top experts in the field, you'll learn how to sell more houses in less time while creating the life you want. Welcome to the Agent Power Huddle.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome back again to another episode of our Agent Power Huddle. It's Mindset Monday, one of my favorite days of the week. It's great to see more people logging on. And by the way, we are also on podcast. So if you miss logging on to us live each morning from 8 to 8:30, you can always hear us back on the podcast episodes. Today, we have a fantastic topic. It's going to be about getting out of your own way, because you have greatness within you and you are already a rock star. You just need to see it. You need to tap into it and own it. So we're going to be diving into that today. But before we get started, first of all, my name is Susan Johnson and Associates, and I've been with you since the inception of Agent Power Huddle. And I'm thrilled and excited to say that I've got a co-host with me today. And before we dive into our topic, I really feel it's important to give a spotlight to our amazing co-host. When Jesse Zagorski aligns me with a co-host, I like to do a little research on who's coming on, because I tell you, he does things very purposefully. If you know anything about Jesse, he doesn't just put people together. He aligns them very purposefully. And so I started doing a little homework. I didn't know Barry Overton last week, and he's our co-host today. And I'll tell you what, when I first started checking and doing a little research on you, Barry, and you'll be able to talk here in just a second, the first thing I came across is his real estate rap. If you have not heard this man's real estate rap, you absolutely have to hear Barry Overton real estate rap. Not only is it fun, it's inspiring, it's also very professional. I love it. Graphics are great, so you got to hear that. But you know what? Something I learned from a coach, one of my coaches along the way, a long time ago, is when you go deeper, that's where you find the treasure. So I said, let me find out a little bit more here about my co-host. So I started learning a little bit more about Barry, and I'll tell you, that's why I'm spending a couple extra minutes doing this kind of long intro, that this man deserves it. Let me tell you about Barry Overton. He has served our country in the U.S. Army. Thank you, Barry. He served in Desert Storm. As a mother of a Marine, I can tell you, anybody who serves our country, I always want to stop and pause for a moment and just say, thank you. Thank you for serving our country. Okay.
I appreciate that.
He also, it doesn't stop there though. 21 years on the Denver Police Department, 21 years. And not just, thank you to all our police officers, but he served in one of the most dangerous fields as a narcotics detective. So 21 years on the Denver Police Department. So again, thank you for your service. He obviously has a servant's heart. He is just an amazing man. He's an entrepreneur. He is also, along doing all these other things, Barry, you'll get into this, but, you've also run businesses on the side. I know you've had a lot of wins, like all of us. You've also had a lot of challenges and not losses, learning experiences, right?
Yeah.
He's always been a dreamer. It's one thing I loved and learned about Barry. He's a dreamer. And I think a lot of us, and that's one of our topics today, about, like I said, getting out of your own way, is as we start getting challenges in our life, we tend to lose those dreams because we start settling, right? And that's one of the things that really captured me about his story. And that's why I wanted to shed this spotlight on him. He's an incredible real estate broker now. Like I said, he's over with us at EXP. He's also authored a book. Like I said, dig deeper, you're going to find the treasures. He's authored a book called Ignite Your Greatness. So I've got that on order, getting that book to read. And he hosts his own podcast called The Greatness Ignited. So it's my pleasure to have you here with us today. And hopefully you'll be coming back quite a bit with us here, Barry. And I know you're going to shed a lot of light on our topic today of you are your own rock star. You do have greatness within you. And the problem is we need to get out of our own minds to tap into that. This topic, and I'm going to give you over the mic here in just a second, Barry. Before we came on Agent Power Huddle here this morning, I said, I like to come up with my topics because of things either I've experienced or I've been talking to other agents. And I've been seeing a lot on Facebook lately. And also I spent 2 days renewing my broker license and talked to hundreds of agents that weekend. And there's just a lot out there about what's your side hustle. Have you seen those posts? What's your side hustle? And people are in this mindset of fear instead of abundance. Would you agree with that? There's a lot of people, and so what I want to try to do here is say, get out of your own way, because the moment you take yourself in that direction, it's a downward spiral. In the moment you tap into, I have within me everything I need, and it's about time that I get out of my way and step into that to start seeing and experiencing successes. Barry, I'm going to turn the microphone over to you now. That's your introduction. I'm really proud to have you with us today.
Well, thank you so much, Susan. You did do your homework.
I did.
It was a great introduction, and thank you for that. And yeah, I'm really excited about this topic as well, because I think that it is the thing that really keeps people from, hitting their levels, their potential in life. And we're going to be able to talk about how to break through some of those barriers today. So I'm really excited about that part of it. And, I think that the getting out of your own way, every time that I hear that, the first thing I think about, again, is mindset and the self-doubt that has been created. So the first thing to being able to get out of your own way is demolishing that self-doubt. And the self-doubt really stems from limiting belief. And when we have limiting belief in regards to the things that we can do, it's going to hold us back. And I can tell you my personal development journey started at the age of 40. I've been in law enforcement. I started in law enforcement at 18. I've been very successful in that area, but I had side hustles. I had this full-time job as a police officer, but real estate. I got my license at 32 as a real estate agent. I had multiple businesses, but they were all side hustles. And what I learned is over time, I learned that anything that I'm doing on the side, it's almost like a hobby. And if I'm not putting, it's just like a plant. If I'm just giving it water and fertilizer part-time, it's not going to grow to its fullest potential. So it was through the personal development that I started going through that I started to believe, you know what, I can walk away from this very secure job as a police officer and do it without a retirement really in place, and I can be successful. And it was at 45. So personal development starts at 40. By the age of 45, I had a mindset where there was no longer any limitations on my belief in me and what I could do. And it was scary. It was scary to take the safety net of a guaranteed income away and realize, okay, now it's all on me. But I tell you, I'll be 55 this November, 10 years that I've been doing this, and I've never looked back. And I'll be the first to tell you, it wasn't easy. There were some challenges, but what I got from those challenges is growth. I became better through those challenges. But going back to demolishing that doubt and how to stop the limiting the belief, the first thing that you have to do is you have to realize what those limiting beliefs are. And, I coach people now and mentor, and I always ask them, what has stopped you from getting to where you're at right now? And usually they don't know. And then the next question I'll ask is, what are the limiting beliefs that you have placed on yourself? And, I have people sometimes that say, I don't have any limiting beliefs. And I say, okay, all right. Well, let's start talking about your dreams. Let's talk about your small dreams. Let's talk about your big dreams. And when we start having that conversation, sometimes even the small dreams are a challenge to figure out what those are. And the big dreams are a challenge for people to figure out what those are. And somewhere along the way, they stop dreaming. And that, for me, when you read my book, you'll see that I was a dreamer as a kid. I always say the best dreamers on the planet are children, because they dream without limitation. they dream without fear or doubt. And it's over the course of time of getting, told that, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that, that those dreams are kind of taken away. Well, what I learned to do is never stop dreaming. So when I'm talking to someone and they're sharing with me, either they can't express what their dream is, or we get into the dreams, and then I ask them, the next question I ask them, well, how long has this been a dream? And if it's been a period of time, why haven't you achieved it? Why are you not there? And the words that I hear during the conversation, I can't, or I may hear one day I will. And for me, it's like, okay, right there, that's where limiting belief is. It's hidden in the words, because those words that you're saying are the thoughts that you have inside of you. And if you're telling me, someone that, we just met and I'm coaching you, and you're telling me that you can't, and you're telling me that one day you will, that means you're telling yourself that every day. Your subconscious mind is hearing that from you on a daily basis, and it has now began to believe that you can't. You've put limitations on what it is that you can and can't do. So the first step that we have to do is recognize those limiting beliefs. The second step is then removing them, reverse engineer the thinking. And part of that is turning I can't into I can. We'll talk about this here more in a minute, but it's through really affirmations of being able to say, the things that you can and the things that you will do, through those, through your words, and then changing.
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, so I love what you're saying, because when you first started back in the beginning, you also said you were all about the side hustles too. And the I can'ts, we hear them all the time. The dreaming, we stop dreaming because we start to settle. One thing when I started my career in real estate was, you have to cut off all the other options. It wasn't when I started my real estate career, it was like, it wasn't I hope I succeed. I had to. There was no, gee, if I make it. It was, I had to make it. I had 3 kids at home. I cut off the other options. And see, that's where I think sometimes the mindset too, right now, people are like, well, what are their side hustle? And, and instead of stepping in and taking, like you said, what are the limiting, but what's really, really holding them back? They, instead of really looking within them and saying, what is holding you back? They're trying to find another direction because we want to move away from the pain towards pleasure, something that's going to be a quick fix, right? So continue on. I'm sorry to interrupt you. You tapped into me when you said that.
Yeah, and that what you just said reminds me of Hernan Cortez. I think it was 1519 when the Spanish ships, I think it was Mexico, that they were seizing. It was an island that they were seizing, and there was this phrase we've heard: "Burn the ships." And the mindset around that was when all the soldiers hit the island, they looked back and the ships were burning. And it was basically the commander, Commander Cortez, saying, there's no retreat. There's no going back. We either take this island or we die here. And that's really the mindset that I had to take on. And I think anyone that you're looking to be successful is you have to take away those things that give you the opportunity to retreat and to go back and say, you know what, I'm facing this head on. That was me at 45 years old. I burned the ship. I walked away from a 6-figure income 10 years early and said, you know what, I'm betting on me. I'm going all in on me. To win. And I tell you, it was the best decision that I ever made. My only regret is that I didn't do it sooner.
Okay, that's what I want. I want what you just said right there. I don't mean to keep interrupting you, Barry, but these are the kind of things I'm talking about when I had these conversations this weekend with the agents that were in that class. When I've seen on Facebook, it's stepping in, taking ownership, saying, you know what, it's going to be hard, but I'm going to bet on myself. I'm actually going to believe in myself. You hear it all the time, but let's actually do it. Let's actually do it. It means taking some risks, taking some risks. Barry, on one of your episodes in your podcast, I listened to your podcast too. You said something I loved. It said, you stop looking at winning and losing. Instead, you turn it around and you turn it into winning and learning. And I love that because I thought, okay, here's the way, everybody, if you're watching or listening, you're listening back on podcast, you can learn something from today's episode, which is to get out of your own way, you're going to need to take some more risks. Bet on yourself and take them on the mindset of, you know what, I'm either going to win or I'm going to learn. There is no more winning or losing. You've got a clean slate now. When you pass this episode today, think about how you have a clean slate. All right. You've got a clean slate and you're going to move it forward now. And we're either going to win or we're going to learn. And if that doesn't help propel you to start taking more risks and betting on yourself, and this is the mindset shift I wanted to try to get to here to tip that scale, to get people off these social media posting. What's your side hustle? I picked up, Uber driving, or stop. You know what? You are a professional and you've got the skills. You just have to see it within yourself and you've got to take action on it. I love the dreaming, but dreams are only a someday until you start to ink it. So the next step is an actionable item, which is coming up with some SMART goals. You've heard of SMART goals, right?
Yeah.
Right. SMART goals, which are very the SMART goals, which are very specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, timely. These are SMART goals. Mm-hmm. I've been in Tony Robbins for years, so I use the RPM method. Does anybody else use RPM? I've said this on many of the Agent Power Huddles. I like that method because it's very easily duplicatable, easy to remember. So when you are dreaming, you want to ink it in something called an RPM. What result are you? What are you dreaming of? What result are you really trying to get to? Okay, what's your P? What's the purpose? You've got to anchor that purpose in. If you really want to achieve that, why? What's it going to do for your life, for your family? That's the whole meaning of it. Okay, and then your M is your map. Your map. What massive action plan? What are you going to really do to get there? And when you start writing these things down, that dream now become very real and attainable. So I want to be able to merge this together because I'm just seeing way too many people, including, I've been doing this many, many years. And even when my business has been up, our business has been down, we go through all these cycles. Hey, I get into these things just like everybody else. It's just that reminder to ourselves. We just don't stay there and we don't live there, right? Yeah. So my year this year didn't start out very strong. We are way in momentum now. But I'll tell you, the beginning of the year wasn't that good, and I could have very easily gone like everybody else. Okay, what's the side hustle going to look like? We go through this. It's life. It's the challenges that we go through. So that's why I wanted to bring. I loved it that you were going to co-host this today because it all starts with that greatness within us and recognizing that and just trusting ourselves. Because if we don't, that's when all that negative, that doubt, that self-doubt, those that stinking thinking, I guess you can say, it's in the way, right?
Yeah. Carry on. Yeah, and I think what you touched on in regards to what I say in regards to wins and lessons, it's one of those areas. You think about wins and losses. The Denver Nuggets, I'm in Denver and we are like losing our mind over the Denver Nuggets being in the NBA Finals. They lost last night. But one of the things, and for a split second, when they lost by 3 points. They had a last second 3-point shot that didn't go in. And in that moment, you're like, you're deflated. But for me, what happened is I watched those players, the Nugget players, walk off the court. And I was looking at Nikola Jokic walk off. And I was like, okay, he learned something from this game. It is not a loss to him. It's a lesson for the next game that they have. And it's the same thing that we have to do in our business. Right now, we are having some challenges in real estate. And this is that area of time where we have to take those lessons and we can't look at it as a loss. Because you think about it, you hear the word loss, or someone told you lost. It's a deflating feeling. But if you reverse engineer the thinking of it and say, okay, but what's the lesson that I can take so the next time I win from it? And that's really the mindset that I've had to take on in regards to, business, in regards to relationships. I mean, it applies to everything. Is always looking for the lesson in something. And one last thing I'll share on that is failure. That's another, that's the true F word right there. When you hear failure, a lot of times we think very negative. But I work out, I go to the gym. And when I go to the gym and I'm lifting weights, my goal when I'm in the gym is to take my muscles to muscle failure. That's the goal, to reach muscle failure. Why is that? Because I know over the next few days, the muscle will grow stronger. And that's how I become stronger, physically. But in business or anything else, we look at that word, we take it from how we learned it in school of being something very negative. But if you take Thomas Edison and the creation, the invention of the incandescent light bulb, and the fact that he failed 10,000 times, how he looked at it is, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I just found 10,000 ways not to do it and eliminate those so I could find the right way to create it.
Exactly. And, and I always say too, it's like, if you haven't failed, you haven't been taking enough risks. You just haven't been taking enough risks. So, and that's one of the things I love about these agent power huddles. When you start getting around the right tribe, you're going to realize that, again, it's not failing. It's more lessons. It's like, okay, well, what did I learn from this? Well, let me try it this way. I talked about a mastermind group I went in. It was really cool because they put us around this table and they had us solving this problem and to making sure we were all looking. And then they said, we all came up with our ideas on how to solve this problem by the way we were looking at it from the angle at the table. Then they said, okay, we want you all to turn and take another step and stand on a different side of the table. And it made us look at it in different ways, and it was so interesting because I'm like, there's many different ways to solve these kind of problems. And sometimes just getting in mastermind groups, getting on these agent power huddles, if you're having any kind of challenges, tap into the groups you've got, tap into your tribe, tap into your people and find out, look, let me learn from you. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. I have never been afraid to ask questions. Jesse Zagorski will tell you that. I am always going like this. Let me learn from you, and I'm always trying to teach people as well. We give back and we learn from others. There's just, as long as you have that mindset, there's always something to learn. You're never stop learning. And you just need to understand that. And that's why, with all these posts and these people that are in this, scarcity mindset, of, oh my gosh, whoa, the market, the interest rates, I'm like, I don't know what market you're seeing right now, but I do understand the interest rates are higher, but I got to tell you, we are in multiple offers again. Yeah. The inventory is so low. We've got, I've got $1 million buyer this week that they got beat out by $150,000 over the list price. And they are, oh my gosh, there are multiple offers going on again. There is opportunity out there. You just have to learn how to see that opportunity and how to work with that opportunity and instead of being, negative. And there's an infographic I saw somewhere that had two men on a bus, and one is looking out the window and they see, just all this dreary, dark. And then the other one sees the sunshine and, it's not that everything's all sunshine and rainbows, right? We all know that. But at the same time, if you stay in that space of the negative of, oh my gosh, the market and the interest rates and, and sellers aren't selling because their interest rates were too low. There are people that still have to sell, period. There are people that still have to buy. Markets, prices are still rising, maybe not to the extent they were 2 years ago. Take advantage of that and know that you have within you what it takes to keep your business going. Continue on, Barry. I'm going to go like this because I want to hear more of you.
Yeah, and I think so once we get past the limiting belief, now we're on the building blocks of creating confidence in yourself. And it's like what you said about the SMART goal. So I have a combination of what I do. My mentors from the days of network marketing were always about dreaming big and beyond anything that you ever believed in. So I've applied that to real estate. So people that I've coached in real estate and say they're making 70, 80,000 a year. And I'll ask them, well, what's your goal for this year? Well, I want to make 100,000. And it's because they've never made 100,000 before, but that's only 20,000 from where they've been. That's probably 2 deals, maybe 1 deal. And so for me, it's like, okay, we need to dream bigger. So I'm big in going much bigger than that. So I'll say, let's do $250,000. Let's make that the goal. And so we have this huge goal that almost sounds like it's, not possible to hit. But then we start putting, how many deals is that? Beyond what you've done in the past, how many more deals is that? And then it looks more attainable. And then we break it down to more of kind of the SMART goal setting of, okay, this quarter, let's just focus on this. Let's just focus on getting X amount of deals, creating X amount of revenue. And every time that I've done that with someone, they smashed 100,000. Maybe they didn't get to 250,000, but they got to 175,000. But they just went $75,000 over what they originally wanted to do. And it's because they set a higher mark. They aim higher. Yeah.
I love what you said about that, because here's the thing, you do a business plan. You can do business plans throughout the year and keep revisiting that business plan. That's a class I teach is the MREA business, because I was a team leader for AW for years. But anyway, and what I like about that is we literally drill it down to exactly what you said, Barry. Well, to get to that goal, how many homes do you really need to sell? It seems like such a high goal. When you really break it down to your average sales price, to how many contacts you need to make per week, and it ends up being like, I need to make 2 buyer contacts a week to hit that 100,000. 2.
Yeah.
So it starts looking very much attainable. You see, the big goal seems like it's not that easy to attain, but when you start drilling it down to specifically what you need to do, your action plan, right? It becomes clear. And that's what I mean by inking it and really writing it down and getting clear on what those are. About limiting beliefs, just real quick. We're already coming to the end of this. This might be a 2-part series here, Barry. So when I'm consulting agents on same thing, on their business plan, one of the techniques I learned from one of my coaches again years ago is we'll ask a question like, okay, what is your goal to earn? And they'll say, okay, $100,000. That's the most common number I hear from agents, by the way, is $100,000. Is that the same thing you hear? Almost all the time when I ask an agent, what $100,000. Okay, so the question is, well, tell me, what would that $100,000 do for your life? What's that going to do for your family? And then they'll start saying, well, gosh, I can do this. And they'll give me all these things that they can do with their $100,000, right? And I'll say, okay, I want you to double that. 200,000. What is that going to do? And then they'll start going, well, 200,000, I could do this, this, and this. Excellent. Let's double that. Let's go 400,000. What's that going to do? Wow. Okay, 400,000. Well, maybe I could do an investment property. And they start doing that. Then I go, okay, 800,000. Here's the lesson in this technique is you start to learn where people's lid is in their where their money thermostat is in their own mind. This is a very valuable lesson. I learned this on myself. I learned this because I'll tell you, when I first started real estate, I had no idea my business in 3 years was going to go where it was going to go. I could never think I was going to earn that kind of money. You know what I'm saying? We don't visualize ourselves, but we have a money thermostat in our own head that we don't even realize we have. But when you can start really saying, okay, wow, double that, and you can start saying, wow, I can make an investment. I can start, giving to my church. I can start whatever it is. Now it's starting to become real of what you can do, and you can dream bigger because you can visualize yourself earning that and what it's actually going to do for your life. Does that make sense? It's a great way to see where people's mindsets are in terms of their money thermostat.
Yeah, I love that. And we may have to make this a 2-part series.
I think we can. I really do. Because there's even more.
But one thing I wanted to touch on what you just mentioned about asking those questions and diving deeper. Yeah. So one of the things, it's in my book, actually, that I talk about when you get that number, let's say it's 100,000 first question I ask is, what are you going to do with the money? You're making that now. What are you going to do? And it's, pay off debt, take my kids on a vacation, put money away for college, all the things. The next question I ask is, who in your world does this affect? You're making $100,000, you're paying this debt off. It affects my kids, it affects my spouse, it affects my parents. And then the last question I ask them is, I want you to close your eyes. Think about making that $100,000. You're paying off all these things that you said you wanted to. It's affecting those people that are closest to you. I want you to give me the words of how it makes you feel. And they start going through the, stress-free, happy, energized, motivated for the next year, all the different things. And I say, that's what we attach to. We don't attach to the dollar amount. We attach to the emotion, because emotion drives motion. It makes you move. And what I've learned is, when you have a dollar amount, you can have it on the walls and all the things. You're not attached to it. And when things start getting rough, it's easy to try and go back to the ships that you didn't burn. But when you are attached to it from an emotional standpoint, that's what drives you. And that's what I have used. I always think about what this new goal, how it's going to make me feel. And that's what makes me go faster towards it.
I love that. That's exactly what I was trying to get to with that. Yes, it's not really about the money. It's really about what is it going to do. And that's why you want to anchor and tie that. It's like, does it really matter if you make $1 million or 100,000 or what is it really going to do?
Yeah.
Because that's where the difference, that's where your action is going to come from.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, Barry, I do want to continue this on. I don't know if I think you're coming back in 2 weeks, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So we'll have to continue this on, but I've got like 6 or 7 other tips I wanted to get into. I still do. I'm sure you do as well. And one of them, and I hope you don't mind, but one of them is actually letting go, letting God, and having some faith. Because, and I don't, this is not really about being Christian or not, but it's really just about, faith and sometimes there's a higher power, whatever you want to call it, but letting go and having some belief in a higher power. And I'll tell you, there are some things we can control, and sometimes we get so anxious, and overwhelmed. And I think there's some lessons learned there that can also help you get out of your own way. And it's very, very powerful when you add that and sprinkle that on in with your world as well. So I hope you enjoyed our Agent Power Huddle today and Barry, I think we should continue on here 2 weeks from today and build on this, because I believe we can actually really touch a lot of people. And if I can end this with the Kobe Bryant quote again from Barry Overton's podcast, that he states that Kobe Bryant said in its most simplest form that greatness is your ability to inspire the next person. And I wanted to share that because, like I said, when I started to study, learn a little bit about my co-host today, I went, man, he really has inspired me. And that's why I was so excited to make sure I gave you that spotlight today. And it's just a real joy to have you with us on Agent Power Huddle, Barry. Thanks for joining us. And everybody else, thanks for being here today. Love having you. And go make this a powerful, productive, and high energy week. Thanks for coming.
All right. Take care.
Coming on.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.